My wife accidentally sent me in asterisk to Pics instead of her lover while I working late at night, with a caption, "I miss you inside of me." I picked my baseball bat and rushed home with my neighbor and caught her in act. My name is Aaron Pierce, and if you'd asked me a month ago how my life was going, I would have told you it was pretty damn solid. Not Instagram perfect, not yacht and champagne solid, but the kind of solid where you wake up every morning and think, yeah, this'll do. I'm 30 years old, been married for 5 years to Sophie Grant. Well, Sophie Pierce now, though that name's about to have the lifespan of a mayfly, and I work the freight night shift at a warehouse that smells like cardboard and broken dreams. My job basically makes me part vampire, part walking advertisement for every coffee brand known to mankind. I've got the caffeine jitters down to an art form, and my sleep schedule is so messed up that my circadian rhythm filed for divorce before my wife did. Sophie's a photographer, one of those artsy types who talks about golden hour like it's a religious experience and carries around a camera that costs more than my car. She's got this smile that used to stop people mid-order at restaurants. I'm talking full-on rom-com freeze-frame moments where strangers would look at us and feel awkward about how in love we looked. We were that couple. You know the type. Holding hands at the grocery store, finishing each other's sentences, making everyone else feel like they were watching a Hallmark movie they didn't ask to be extras in. I was proud of that. I thought we were nailing this whole marriage thing. We live in a white house with a squeaky front gate that I keep meaning to oil but never do because, honestly, it's become part of the charm at this point. The gate squeaks, the porch light flickers like it's auditioning for a horror movie, and the kitchen faucet drips just enough to remind you that home ownership is a slow, expensive lesson in humility. But it's ours, or it was ours. Past tense is a real son of a bitch when you're not expecting it. Here's the thing about working night shifts. You become this weird ghost in your own marriage. I leave for work around 10 p.m., right when most normal humans are winding down for the night, and I don't get home until 7 a.m., which is right when Sophie's starting her day. Our lives operate on this bizarre overlap where we see each other for maybe an hour in the evening. Her winding up, me winding down, both of us pretending that this schedule isn't slowly turning us into roommates who occasionally have sex and share a Netflix account. She's got her creative hours, which is photographer speak for, I work whenever inspiration strikes, and you can't question my process. I've earned the title of husband who believes in dreams, which sounds noble and supportive until you realize that the dream's rent is $1,200 a month, and I'm the one covering it while she builds her portfolio. I'm not complaining, or I wasn't, back when I thought supporting your spouse's dreams was what good husbands did. Turns out I was just funding her freelance betrayal service, but we'll get to that. There were small things I should have noticed. Little odd things that, in hindsight, were basically neon signs screaming, "Your wife is up to something," but I ignored them like a polite dog wagging its tail at every noise. Sophie started turning her phone face down whenever I walked into a room. She'd get these mysterious photo projects that required her to be gone at weird hours, and when I'd ask about them, she'd give me these vague artist answers like, "I'm exploring urban decay," or "I'm capturing the loneliness of suburban architecture." I'd nod along like I understood, like I was some kind of supportive art patron instead of a guy who just wanted to know why his wife was taking pictures of abandoned buildings at midnight. My neighbor Tom Briggs, retired cop, full-time neighborhood watchman, and part-time pain in my ass, tried to warn me. Tom's the kind of guy who treats the entire neighborhood like it's his personal online cop forum, and me like I'm his favorite unanswered thread. He's got that cop's sixth sense for bullshit, the kind that comes from spending 30 years dealing with liars, cheaters, and people who think they're smarter than they are. Tom would see Sophie leaving at odd hours and mention it casually, like, "Saw your wife heading out around 11 last night. Everything okay?" And I'd brush it off with some excuse about her work schedule. Tom would give me this look, the kind of look that says, "You're an idiot, but I'm going to let you figure that out on your own," and then change the subject to something about lawn maintenance or his latest conspiracy theory about the HOA. Tom's wife, Julie, is the complete opposite. Warm, chatty, the kind of woman who bakes cookies for every neighborhood event and knows everyone's business before they do. She tried the subtle approach, asking Sophie pointed questions about her projects at neighborhood barbecues, but Sophie's good at deflecting. Artists are professional deflectors. They can turn any direct question into a philosophical rambling about light and composition until you forget what you even asked. So there I was, working my ass off every night at a warehouse, moving pallets and signing manifests, coming home to a wife who was slowly becoming a stranger, and convincing myself that this was just what marriage looked like after 5 years. The spark dims, the routine sets in, and you accept that love transforms from fireworks into something quieter, something stable. I told myself that our weird schedules were temporary, that once Sophie's photography career took off, we'd get back to normal. I made absurd promises to myself, little mental bargains like, if anything goes wrong, at least I still have decent knees for running, or at least we don't fight like the Hendersons next door who scream about recycling bins at 2 a.m. I went to work that night, the night everything changed, thinking everything was ordinary. I kissed Sophie goodbye around 9:30, told her I loved her, and she said it back with that smile that used to make me feel like the luckiest guy alive. She was wearing my old college sweatshirt, the one that's more holes than fabric at this point, and her hair was up in that messy bun that somehow looked effortlessly perfect. I remember thinking, this is my life, and it's good. Turns out I was wrong. Very, very wrong. But I wouldn't find that out until 11:47 p.m., when my phone would buzz with a message that would make me drop my clipboard, question my entire existence, and realize that my life wasn't a rom-com after all. It was a tragicomedy, and I was the punchline. It's 11:47 p.m., and I'm standing in the middle of a warehouse that looks like a fluorescent-lit purgatory designed by someone who hates human happiness. I've got a mountain of manifests in front of me that needs sorting, a scanner gun that beeps like a judgmental robot, and enough overhead lighting to see into other people's futures, though apparently not my own. The night shift crew is scattered around like zombies in safety vests. There's Miguel on the forklift, whose entire personality is reggaeton and energy drinks. Darnell over by receiving, who's probably watching basketball highlights on his phone when he thinks nobody's looking. And Janet, our supervisor, who runs this place like a benevolent dictator with a clipboard fetish and an unhealthy attachment to OSHA regulations. My phone buzzes in my pocket, and I pull it out expecting another automated text from our phone carrier trying to sell me an upgrade I don't need. Instead, it's Sophie. The preview reads, "Love you. Be safe." My chest does that stupid warm thing it's done for 5 years whenever she texts me during work. It's cute. It's sweet. It's the kind of thing that makes me feel like maybe I'm not just a forklift-adjacent coffee addict, but someone's whole world. I reply with the emoji of ultimate commitment, the red heart, because I'm a romantic trapped in a warehouse worker's body, and I've accepted my fate. I'm about to pocket my phone and get back to the thrilling world of freight logistics when it buzzes again. I smile, expecting another sleepy babe text or maybe a meme she found funny or one of those just thinking about you messages that make me temporarily forget that I'm surrounded by industrial shelving and the faint smell of diesel. I swipe open my messages, and my entire world implodes like a poorly stacked pallet. There, on my phone screen, in full high-definition color that my phone carrier definitely charged me extra for, is a nude photo of my wife. And I don't mean one of those artsy, tasteful, black and white silhouette things where you can barely tell what you're looking at. I'm talking full-color, well-lit, professionally composed. Because of course Sophie would make sure the lighting was perfect even while destroying my life. Naked photograph. She's posed on our guest room bed, the one with the expensive sheets we bought on sale at Target and felt proud about, and the caption beneath it reads, "I miss you inside of me." I drop my clipboard. It hits the concrete floor with a clatter that echoes through the warehouse like the sound of my marriage shattering into 1,000 bureaucratic pieces. Miguel looks over from his forklift, eyebrows raised. "You good, man?" "I'm not good. I'm the opposite of good. I'm whatever exists in the space beyond not good, where reality becomes a sick joke, and you start questioning whether you're actually awake or trapped in some nightmare designed by a sadistic creative writing major." My hands are shaking as I stare at the screen, my brain doing mental gymnastics trying to make this make sense. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe she meant to send this to me and just attached a weird caption. Maybe I'm having a stroke, and this is what the beginning of brain death looks like. But no, deep down, in that gut-level place where men keep their fear and their rage and their certainty that something is deeply wrong, I know exactly what this is. I screenshot faster than I've ever signed for shipments in my life. My thumb moves on pure instinct, capturing the evidence like I'm some kind of betrayed private investigator in a noir film, except instead of a trench coat and whiskey, I'm wearing a high-vis vest and drinking gas station coffee that tastes like regret. The moment the screenshot saves, the messages vanish. Deleted. Gone. Like they never existed, except they did, and I have proof, and my heart is racing so fast I'm worried Janet's going to think I'm having a medical emergency and file an incident report. My phone buzzes again, another text from Sophie, and this time the panic is palpable even through the screen. OMG, babe. Wrong person. That was for a boudoir client. I was sending samples. So sorry. I stare at this message like it's written in a foreign language. Boudoir client. Boudoir. Fucking. Client. A sentence forms in my throat, sarcastic and sharp enough to cut glass. Boudoir client? Sure. Who's the client? The mailman? But I don't type it. I don't respond at all. My brain is moving too fast, connecting dots I didn't want to connect. The late-night photo shoots. The face-down phone. The mysterious projects that required her to be gone when I was home. The way she'd started doing laundry more frequently, like she was washing away evidence. My chest feels tight, like someone's sitting on it. Miguel's still looking at me with concern. Seriously, dude, you look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine. I lie, which is what men do when their worlds are ending and they're surrounded by co-workers who don't need to witness their breakdown. Just family stuff. I need to make a call. I walk outside into the parking lot where the night air hits me like a slap. It's October in the Midwest, which means it's cold enough to see your breath, but not cold enough to justify the emotional numbness spreading through my body. I dial Tom Briggs, because Tom's the only person I know who won't ask stupid questions or try to make me think positive about a situation that's obviously catastrophically negative. Tom answers on the second ring, his voice gravelly with sleep and suspicion. Aaron, it's midnight. Someone better be dead or dying. Not yet, I say, and my voice sounds weird, detached, like it's coming from someone else's throat. But I need you to do me a favor. I need you to watch my house. There's a pause. I can practically hear Tom's cop brain kicking into gear, that investigative instinct that never retired even though he did. What happened? Sophie sent me a nude photo. Wrong number. Says it was for a boudoir client. Another pause, longer this time. Then Tom's voice comes back, sharp and focused. Where are you? Work. I'm at work. Stay there. I'm getting dressed. Give me 5 minutes. Tom. 5 minutes, Aaron. I'm going to take a walk around your block. Real casual. If something's going on, I'll see it. He hangs up before I can argue, which is classic Tom. The man doesn't wait for permission. He just acts. It's probably what made him a good cop and definitely what makes him an overbearing neighbor. I stand in the parking lot, phone clutched in my hand, staring at the screenshot I took. Sophie's looking at the camera with this expression I've seen 1,000 times. That sultry, playful look she used to give me in our early dating days. Except now she's giving it to someone else. Someone who has the audacity to be in my house, on my sheets, receiving photos that should have been mine and mine alone. My phone rings. Tom. I answer. Black sedan, he says without preamble. 3 houses down from yours. Plates are muddy, can't read them. Engine's cold, been there a while. Lights are on in your guest room. My stomach drops. Tom, I'm going to knock on your door. Friendly neighbor checking in. See what happens. Don't. But he's already hung up again. Tom operates on his own frequency, somewhere between helpful and complete liability. I call him back immediately. He answers while clearly walking because I can hear his breathing. What? He barks. Don't knock. Just watch. Please. I hear him stop walking. Aaron, if someone's in your house. I know. I'm coming home. Just watch. Keep your phone on. Tell me if anyone leaves. There's a long silence. Then, how fast can you get here? 20 minutes if I speed. I'll be in my driveway. Casual. Just a retired old man who can't sleep. Call me when you're 5 minutes out. He hangs up. I stand there for another second, my mind racing through scenarios. Then I turn and walk back into the warehouse with purpose. Janet looks up from her desk as I approach. Family emergency. I tell her, and it's not even a lie. I need to leave. Now. She starts to protest, something about protocol and coverage, but whatever expression is on my face makes her stop. Go, she says quietly. We'll figure it out. I grab my keys, my jacket, and that old aluminum baseball bat my dad gave me that I keep in my car for emergencies. Tonight qualifies. I drive home doing 70 in a 55, my hands gripping the steering wheel like it's the only solid thing left in my universe, my mind playing that photo on repeat like the world's worst screensaver. Boudoir client. Right. And I'm the king of England. The drive home is a blur of streetlights, coffee jitters, and the kind of rage that makes you understand why people in movies punch walls and immediately regret it. I'm doing 70 in a 55, which for a guy who normally drives like he's got a birthday cake in the backseat, is basically my version of a high-speed chase. My phone is on speaker, sitting in the cup holder like a ticking time bomb, and Tom's voice keeps crackling through with updates that make my blood pressure spike high enough to require medication. Still there, Tom says, his voice low and gravelly like he's narrating a true crime documentary about my life. Black sedan hasn't moved. Guest room lights still on. I can see shadows moving behind the curtain. Shadows. Plural. In my house. In the room where we keep the extra towels and the box of Christmas decorations Sophie insists on storing, even though we have a perfectly good attic. I grip the steering wheel harder, my knuckles going white. The baseball bat is on the passenger seat, aluminum and slightly dented from the time my dad used it to kill a copperhead in our backyard when I was 12. It's sentimental, practical, and excellent for making dramatic gestures, which is exactly what tonight calls for. Can you see anything else? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady and failing miserably. I sound like a man who's gargling gravel and anxiety. Negative. Curtains are mostly closed. But Aaron. Tom pauses, and I know that pause. It's the pause he uses before delivering news that's going to piss me off. I walked by your front door, checked it real subtle like, pretended I was looking at your porch light. And it's locked, deadbolt and everything. My brain stutters. So how did? He has a key, Aaron. 3 words. 3 simple words that hit me like a freight truck doing 80 on the interstate. He has a key. Not he picked the lock. Not he broke in through a window like a normal home-invading piece of trash. He has a key. A key to my house. To the place where I sleep, where I eat breakfast, where I keep my collection of Marvel Blu-rays organized alphabetically because I'm that kind of person. Someone gave this guy, this stranger who's currently raw-dogging my wife in my guest room, access to my life like it was a Netflix password. Aaron, you still there? Yeah, I croak. I'm here. I'm 5 minutes out. Good. Listen to me carefully. Tom's voice shifts into what I've started calling his cop voice. Authoritative, calm, the verbal equivalent of a bulletproof vest. You're going to park down the street. Not in your driveway. We're going to approach quiet. No yelling, no dramatic entrances. We document everything. You understand? Everything. This is evidence. Evidence, I repeat numbly. The word tastes clinical and cold, like I'm suddenly a character in Law and Order instead of a guy who just wants to understand why his wife is auditioning for a porno in his guest room. I know you're pissed. Hell, I'm pissed, and it's not even my wife. But if you want to come out of this with anything, legally speaking, you need to be smart. We film it, we record it, and we don't do anything that's going to make you look like the bad guy. Got it? Got it. I lie, because I absolutely do not got it. What I've got is a rapidly deteriorating sense of reality and a strong desire to introduce someone's face to my aluminum friend here. I'm in my driveway, Tom continues. Julie's awake now. I told her what's happening. She's got her phone ready too. More cameras, more evidence. When you get here, flash your headlights twice. I hang up and focus on not wrapping my car around a telephone pole. The streets are empty this time of night. Just me and the occasional traffic light that seems to take personal joy in staying red longer than necessary. I pass the 7-Eleven where Sophie and I used to get slushies on summer nights, back when we were young and stupid and thought love was enough. Turns out love is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine when your partner's got the moral compass of a politician during election season. My neighborhood appears ahead. Modest houses with neat lawns and the kind of suburban silence that makes you think nothing bad ever happens here. Tom's sitting on his porch, barely visible in the darkness, looking like the world's most casual stakeout operative. He's wearing his robe, the thick burgundy one that makes him look like a discount Hugh Hefner, and holding what appears to be a mug of coffee. As I approach, I flash my headlights twice. He stands up with the speed of a man 20 years younger and starts walking toward his driveway. I park 3 houses down, behind a minivan that belongs to the Chins, who are probably sleeping peacefully with no idea that their street is about to host a domestic drama that'll be neighborhood gossip for the next 6 months. I grab the bat, my phone, and what's left of my dignity, which isn't much, maybe enough to fill a shot glass, and meet Tom in his driveway. Julie's there too, appearing from their garage like a suburban ninja. She's in pajamas covered with cats wearing sunglasses, which would be hilarious under literally any other circumstances. Her face is twisted in sympathy and rage, the unique expression of a woman who's about to witness another woman's downfall and feels conflicted about enjoying it. "Aaron, honey," she starts, but I hold up a hand. "Don't. Please. I can't handle sympathy right now. I'll break." She nods, presses her phone into recording mode, and falls silent. Tom's already recording too, his phone held low and professional. The man went to exactly one seminar about smartphone evidence collection after he retired, and now he acts like he's running a documentary film crew. "Here's the plan," Tom whispers, even though we're still in his driveway, and there's no way anyone in my house can hear us. We approach from the side. I'll get footage of the sedan first. Plates, make, model. Then we go to your door. You use your key, nice and quiet. We get inside, assess the situation. If we hear anything, and I mean anything, we document it before we act. No touching him, no assault charges. You let the evidence speak. I nod, but I'm already calculating how much bail would cost if I accidentally on purpose let the bat slip in his direction. Tom reads my face like a book written in large print. "Aaron, I'm serious. Assault charges will destroy your case. You want the house? The clean divorce? Her getting nothing? Then you be smart. Be cold. Treat this like business, not personal." "It's extremely personal, Tom. I know. That's why I'm here. To stop you from doing something stupid that'll feel great for 5 seconds and screw you for 5 years." We start walking. The night air is cold enough that I can see my breath, which makes this feel even more surreal, like I'm in a movie where the protagonist's life falls apart in aesthetic, cinematic ways. The black sedan comes into view, parked under a street light that's conveniently burned out. Tom circles it slowly, filming from multiple angles, narrating under his breath like David Attenborough documenting wildlife. Black Nissan Altima, 2018 or 2019, license plate obscured by mud. Deliberate, most likely. Julie's behind me, her phone pointed at my back, probably getting footage of my emotional journey, or whatever she'll call it later when she's gossiping with the book club. We reach my front walk. The gate squeaks. Of course it does. I never fixed it, and I wince like the sound might alert them. But the guest room light stays on, shadows still moving behind the curtain. I slide my key into the lock. It turns smooth and quiet, well-oiled because I'm the kind of husband who maintains things, who fixes what's broken, who apparently can repair everything except his marriage. The door opens into darkness. Our living room is quiet, but I can hear something. Music. Sophie's playlist. The cheesy anniversary mix she made 3 years ago with songs like Thinking Out Loud and Perfect and other romantic garbage that now sounds like ironic commentary on my life. Tom touches my shoulder, gestures toward the guest room. The door is closed, but light spills from underneath. We can hear voices now. Sophie's laugh, breathy and low, the kind of laugh she used to give me. Then a male voice, young and stupid sounding, saying something I can't make out. Tom counts down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. I kick the door open like I'm auditioning for a cop show, which is probably what happens when you spend 10 minutes taking pre-raid instructions from a retired police officer who watches too much television. The door slams against the wall. The music cuts off mid-chorus, and there they are. Sophie, frozen mid-panic, and some kid who looks like he wandered out of a college gym and into the worst decision of his life. Tom's recording. Julie's recording. I'm standing there with a baseball bat and approximately zero chill. And all I can think is, this is really happening. This is my life now. The guy tries to cover himself with our sheets, the expensive Target ones, and Sophie starts crying immediately, which seems like a strategic choice. I open my mouth to say something devastating and witty, but all that comes out is, "Get dressed." Now, the guest room looks like a crime scene designed by IKEA. Our moderately expensive sheets are tangled in ways that would make a sailor impressed. There's clothing scattered across the floor like a tornado hit a Gap outlet store, and the air smells like guilt, cheap cologne, and what I can only describe as audacity. Sophie's sitting up in bed, clutching the comforter to her chest like modesty matters now. And her face is doing this thing where she's cycling through emotions faster than a slot machine. Shock, fear, panic, and what looks like the beginning of a defense strategy she's workshopping in real time. The guy, and I use that term loosely because he looks like he's barely old enough to rent a car without paying extra fees, is frozen in that universal position of, oh shit, I've made a terrible life choice. He's got that gym bro physique that screams protein shakes and poor judgment, the kind of abs that require more maintenance than my car, and a face that suggests his parents paid for college but couldn't buy him common sense. He's staring at me, at Tom, at Julie, and at the baseball bat in my hand like he's trying to calculate whether he can make it to the window before I introduce him to aluminum. Aaron, Sophie starts, and her voice is shaking, which might be genuine fear or might be the opening act of whatever performance she's about to give. I've known this woman for 7 years, been married to her for 5, and I can usually tell when she's bullshitting. Right now, I have no idea. My bullshit detector just filed for retirement. Don't, I say, holding up one hand while keeping the bat firmly gripped in the other. Don't say my name. Don't explain. Don't do whatever you're about to do where you cry and make this about your feelings. Just don't. Tom's moved to the corner of the room, phone still recording, getting angles like he's shooting a documentary about the death of trust. Julie's in the doorway, her cat pajama-covered presence somehow making this whole situation more surreal. The guy finally finds his voice, and it comes out cracked and pathetic, like a teenage boy whose voice is still dropping. Look, man, I didn't know she was married. Shut up, I interrupt, because that's the oldest lie in the cheating handbook, and I'm not here for the greatest hits of infidelity excuses. You're in my house, in my guest room, on my sheets. You think I'm stupid enough to believe you didn't know? He opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again like a fish that just realized it's out of water and severely regretting its life choices. Sophie's crying now, full waterworks, mascara running, the whole theatrical production. Under different circumstances, I might feel something about those tears. Right now, they just piss me off because she's using them like currency, like they're supposed to buy her forgiveness or at least a temporary stay of execution. What's your name? Tom asks, his cop voice in full effect. He's moved closer, phone pointed directly at the guy's face, documenting this disaster for what I assume will be legal proceedings and possibly Tom's personal highlight reel of neighborhood drama. Marcus, the guy stammers. Marcus Lee. Age? 24. 24. Sophie's 28. I'm 30. This kid is closer to college than he is to having a fully developed prefrontal cortex. I look at my wife, ex-wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, whatever the legal terminology is for someone who's currently dead to me, and try to understand what the hell she was thinking. Was it the abs? The youth? The fact that he probably doesn't work night shifts and actually has the energy for sex at normal human hours? Marcus Lee. I repeat, testing the name out like it's a foreign word I'm learning to pronounce. You got a job, Marcus? Or is home wrecking your full-time gig? His face flushes red. I'm a personal trainer. Of course you are. I laugh, and it comes out bitter and sharp. A personal trainer. Sophie, you're really living up to every cliché in the book, aren't you? What's next? Did you meet him at the gym? Did he help you with your squats? Aaron, please, she tries again, reaching out a hand like physical contact is going to somehow reset this situation to a time before she decided our marriage was negotiable. Get dressed, I tell Marcus, ignoring Sophie completely. Both of you. You've got 2 minutes before I stop being reasonable. Tom clears his throat. Aaron's being generous with the timeline. Personally, I'd give you 60 seconds, but I'm old-fashioned. Marcus scrambles out of bed, trying to maintain some dignity while grabbing his boxer briefs off the floor. He's got the kind of body that suggests he spends more time looking in mirrors than at the people he's hurting. All sculpted muscles and carefully maintained stubble. Sophie's pulling on my old college sweatshirt, the one she was wearing when I left for work, the one that's more mine than hers, and that detail somehow hurts worse than everything else. She wore my clothes to cheat on me. She wrapped herself in fabric that smells like me while inviting someone else into our home. Julie's making small, disgusted noises from the doorway, the kind of judgmental sounds that mothers make when their kids disappoint them. Tom's still filming, circling the room slowly, getting evidence of everything. The rumpled bed, the scattered clothes, the general atmosphere of betrayal and bad decisions. Marcus is dressed now, looking like he wants to be literally anywhere else on planet Earth. He's wearing jeans and a tight black V-neck that probably cost $40 and makes him look like every douchebag in every nightclub I've never wanted to visit. He's got his phone, his wallet, and what looks like a set of keys in his hand, including, presumably, the key to my house that Sophie gave him like she was handing out party favors. Outside, I say, gesturing with the bat. Now, we parade out of the house like the world's saddest procession, me leading with the bat, Marcus following with his head down, Tom and Julie bringing up the rear with their phones still recording. Sophie's stumbling behind, still crying, still trying to form words that might explain or justify or somehow rewind the last hour of my life. The night air hits us, cold and sharp, and I breathe it in like I'm trying to clear my head of the image that's now permanently burned into my brain. The black Nissan Altima is right where Tom said it was, parked under the broken streetlight like Marcus thought he was being clever about discretion. I walk up to it, bat in hand, and Marcus makes a small squeaking noise that might be protest or fear or both. The key, I say, holding out my hand. To my house. Give it to me. He fumbles with his keychain, hands shaking, and produces a silver key that looks exactly like mine because it probably came from the same hardware store where Sophie and I made copies 2 years ago when we were still pretending to be a functional couple. I take it, pocket it, and then I look at his car, this black sedan that's been parked on my street God knows how many times, carrying this kid to my home while I was at work, trusting my wife, being the kind of loyal idiot who deserves his own sitcom about obliviousness. I swing the bat. It connects with the windshield with a satisfying crack that spiderwebs the glass but doesn't shatter it completely. Marcus yelps like a kicked dog. Sophie screams something that might be my name or might be a protest. Tom says Aaron in a warning tone, but he doesn't stop recording, and I notice Julie's actually smiling a little, which makes me like her more in this moment than I ever have before. That's for the disrespect, I say calmly, like I'm explaining a very reasonable business transaction. Now get in your car, drive away, and if I ever see you within a mile of my house again, the next thing I hit won't be your windshield. Marcus doesn't need to be told twice. He's in his car faster than I've ever seen someone move, engine starting with a roar that probably wakes up the neighbors, who are definitely getting a show tonight courtesy of the Pierce household's very public implosion. He peels out, damaged windshield and all, his taillights disappearing around the corner like he's being chased by demons. Which, emotionally speaking, he probably is. I turn back to Sophie, who's standing on our front lawn in my sweatshirt and her shame, looking smaller than I've ever seen her. Tom and Julie are still there, silent witnesses to the destruction of my marriage, their phones capturing everything for posterity and legal purposes. Pack a bag, I tell Sophie, my voice eerily calm considering I just committed minor property damage and am currently experiencing what I assume is either shock or the beginning of a complete psychological breakdown. You've got 20 minutes. Take what you need for a week. You can come back later with a police escort for the rest. Aaron, we need to talk. No, I interrupt. We really don't. We needed to talk before you gave another man a key to our house. We needed to talk before you sent him naked pictures with my name still in your phone. We're way past talking, Sophie. Way past. She starts to argue, but Tom steps forward, his presence enough to shut her down. Ma'am, I'd suggest you do what he says. Go pack your things. Quietly. Quickly. And maybe consider getting a lawyer, because this, he gestures at his still recording phone. This is going to be a problem for you. Sophie looks at me one last time, her eyes pleading for something I don't have to give anymore. Forgiveness, understanding, a chance to explain. Then she turns and walks into the house, her shoulders shaking with sobs that might be genuine or might be performance art. I don't care anymore which it is. I stand in my front yard, bat still in hand, surrounded by my neighbors who've become my unexpected legal team, and I realize that my life just split into before and after. Before tonight, I was a husband. After tonight, I'm something else entirely. There's a specific moment after your life explodes where the adrenaline drains out of your system like water from a bathtub, and you're left standing in the wreckage wondering what the hell you're supposed to do next. For me, that moment happens around 1:30 in the morning, sitting at Tom and Julie's kitchen table, watching my neighbor upload phone footage to 3 different cloud storage services with the kind of obsessive redundancy that would make IT professionals weep with joy. Tom's treating this like he's submitting evidence for a capital murder case instead of a suburban adultery situation, but honestly, I'm grateful for his paranoia because my brain is currently operating at the cognitive level of a concussed goldfish. Sophie left an hour ago, her car loaded with garbage bags full of clothes and toiletries, crying loud enough that Mrs. Henderson 2 doors down turned on her porch light to see what the commotion was about. She tried one last time to talk to me, standing in our driveway. My driveway. I mentally correct myself, looking like a Lifetime movie protagonist who just realized she's actually the villain. I told her to communicate through lawyers from now on, which is apparently what you say when your marriage dies and you want to sound official about it. She drove off to presumably stay with her parents, who are about to get a very interesting phone call from me. Okay, Tom announces, looking up from his laptop with the satisfied expression of a man who just completed a mission. We've got copies on Google Drive, Dropbox, and iCloud. I've also emailed copies to myself, Julie, and you. Timestamp shows it's all from tonight, location data embedded. This is solid, Aaron. Bulletproof. I always wanted bulletproof evidence of my wife's affair. I say flatly. Right up there with homeownership and retirement savings on my list of life goals. Julie appears with coffee, real coffee, not the gas station sludge I've been mainlining for the past 6 hours, and a plate of cookies that she apparently stress-baked while we were doing our low-budget investigation work. She's changed out of the cat pajamas into regular clothes, which makes her look more like a concerned friend and less like a whimsical witness to my domestic tragedy. What happens now? Julie asks gently, settling into a chair across from me. Her eyes are kind, but also gleaming with the sort of interest that suggests this is the most exciting thing to happen on our street since the Johnson's holiday light display caused a minor traffic jam. Now, Tom says, ticking items off on his fingers like he's running through a grocery list. Aaron calls a lawyer. A good one. Then he calls Sophie's parents. Get ahead of whatever story she's spinning. Then we change locks, freeze joint accounts, document everything in the house, and start building a case that'll make her wish she'd just filed for divorce like a normal person instead of playing house with a personal trainer. The way Tom says personal trainer makes it sound like a slur, which honestly tracks with my current emotional state. I pull out my phone, stare at it for a second, and realize I have no idea what time it is or whether lawyers even answer phones at. I check the screen, 1:47 in the morning. My lawyer's not going to answer at this hour, I say, stating the obvious. Then we call someone who will. Tom's already typing something into his phone, his reading glasses perched on his nose making him look like a grandfather who moonlights as a private investigator. I know a guy. Well, a woman. Monica Reyes. She's a shark. Handled my buddy's divorce 3 years ago. His wife was sleeping with their marriage counselor. Monica took that woman apart like she was carving a Thanksgiving turkey. Reassuring imagery. I mutter, but I'm taking the number Tom's scribbling on a napkin because at this point, I'll trust anyone who has experience with betrayal and its legal ramifications. I dial. It rings 4 times, and I'm about to hang up when a voice answers. Female, alert, with the kind of tone that suggests she was either already awake or wakes up ready to fight someone in court. Monica Reyes. Hi. My name is Aaron Pierce. Tom Briggs gave me your number. I know it's late. Early, middle of the night. But I just caught my wife cheating and I need evidence. Yeah, lots of it. Photos, video, the guy's name, his car registration. Stop. She cuts me off, and I hear rustling like she's sitting up in bed. Don't tell me anything else over the phone. Can you be in my office at 9 a.m.? Yes. Good. Bring everything. Phones, screenshots, videos, any documentation of assets, bank accounts, property. If you've got witnesses, bring them too. And Aaron? Yeah. Don't contact your wife. Don't threaten her. Don't post about this on social media. Don't do anything except breathe and show up to my office. Understand. Understood. She hangs up. I look at Tom and Julie, who are watching me like I'm a reality show they're particularly invested in. She sounds terrifying. I report. Good. Tom says with satisfaction. You want terrifying. You want someone who makes opposing counsel cry in depositions. Monica's your woman. Next on the list, Sophie's parents. Robert and Patricia Grant, who live 40 minutes away in a neighborhood slightly nicer than ours, and have always treated me with the polite warmth of people who think their daughter could have done better. I've spent 5 years at their holiday dinners, helping Robert with his computer problems and listening to Patricia talk about her book club's opinions on novels I'll never read. Now I get to tell them their daughter's a cheater. The thought gives me a grim satisfaction that probably says terrible things about my character. I call Robert's cell. He answers on the 6th ring, voice thick with sleep and confusion. Aaron, what's wrong? Is Sophie okay? Sophie's fine, I say, and the word fine tastes like battery acid. She's probably on her way to your house right now, actually. I'm calling because I wanted you to hear this from me before she spins whatever story she's about to tell you. There's a pause. I can hear Patricia in the background asking who's calling at this hour. Robert's breathing changes, becomes cautious, aware. What happened? I came home from work early tonight and found Sophie in bed with another man. In our guest room. I've got video evidence, photos, the whole thing documented. Tom Briggs witnessed it. She's been having an affair, gave him a key to our house. I'm filing for divorce. The silence on the other end is so profound I check to make sure the call didn't drop. Then Robert speaks, and his voice is different. Older, tired, sad in a way that makes me almost feel sorry for him. Jesus Christ, Aaron. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know the truth. Whatever she tells you. I believe you, he interrupts quietly. I've known something was off. Patricia said something months ago about Sophie acting strange, but we thought. Hell, I don't know what we thought. Aaron, if you need anything. I need you to keep her away from me. That's all. Another long pause. I understand. We'll handle it on our end. He hangs up, and I feel something shift. A small, bitter victory in the scorched earth of my imploding marriage. Sophie's family loyalty just evaporated like morning fog, and I'm petty enough to enjoy it. Tom's already moved on to the next item on his mental checklist. Joint accounts, he announces. Banks open at 8. Soon as they do, you freeze everything. Don't drain them. Looks bad in court. Just freeze them so she can't either. Julie's making notes on a legal pad like she's my paralegal. Netflix password, she adds. Hulu. Any streaming services. Change them all. That seems petty, I say, even though I'm absolutely going to do it. It is petty, Julie confirms cheerfully. But you've earned petty. Plus, she'll be at her parents' house trying to watch something to take her mind off things, and instead she'll get a login error. Small victories, Aaron. I spend the next hour making a checklist on my phone. Call bank, change locks, change passwords, document everything in the house, cancel her credit cards, remove her from insurance. It's weird how betrayal turns into bureaucracy, how the death of love becomes a to-do list you could share with your accountant. Tom's compiling the video footage into a single folder. 47 pages of screenshots, time-stamped recordings, photos of Marcus's car. He labels it evidence package, Pierce versus Pierce, like we're already in court. Monica's going to love this, Tom says with genuine admiration. This is what we call a nuclear option. I'm the only man who ever paid for sin and still got billed for it. I joke weakly. Tom doesn't laugh. He just looks at me seriously and says, no, you're the man who's about to walk away from this thing clean. Trust me. Julie orders pizza at 2 in the morning from a place that's apparently open 24 hours because we live in America and capitalism never sleeps. Tom eats the last slice with the satisfied expression of a general who just won a tactical victory. And for a brief moment, sitting in their kitchen surrounded by evidence of my wife's betrayal and my neighbor's unexpected solidarity, I feel something that isn't quite hope, but also isn't despair. It's just determination. Cold, practical, and surprisingly comforting. If there's one thing I've learned about suburban America, it's that news travels faster than a politician's promise evaporates after Election Day. By 9 a.m. the next morning, when I'm sitting in Monica Reyes's office with my folder of nuclear evidence and a coffee that tastes like liquid anxiety, half the neighborhood already knows my marriage exploded like a meth lab in a fireworks factory. I know this because my phone has 17 text messages from people I haven't spoken to in months, all with variations of heard what happened, so sorry man, and let me know if you need anything, which is code for give me the juicy details so I can seem informed at the next block party. The credit for this information superhighway goes entirely to Julie Briggs, who I've discovered is not just Tom's wife, but also the neighborhood's unofficial town crier, communication hub, and keeper of secrets that stop being secret approximately 4 minutes after she learns them. She knows everyone's birthdays, everyone's drama, and apparently everyone's phone numbers, because by the time I leave Monica's office 2 hours later with a legal strategy that makes me feel like I'm preparing for war, my phone is blowing up with supportive messages that range from genuine sympathy to thinly veiled requests for gossip. Monica Reyes, for the record, is exactly as terrifying as she sounded on the phone. She's maybe 5'4", dressed in a power suit that probably costs more than my monthly mortgage, and she looked at my evidence folder the way a sommelier looks at a vintage wine, with appreciation, expertise, and a slight smile that suggests she knows exactly how to weaponize it. She spent 45 minutes going through every screenshot, every video clip, every piece of documentation Tom and I compiled, making notes in handwriting so precise it looks like a font. "This is excellent work," she said, which coming from her felt like getting an A+ on a test I didn't know I was taking. "Most clients come in here with nothing but suspicions and hurt feelings. You've got timestamps, witnesses, photographic evidence, and documentation of property crimes. Mr. Pierce, you've essentially done half my job for me." I had help, I admitted, thinking of Tom's obsessive evidence collection and Julie's strategic photography skills. "Good help. Keep them close. Now, here's what we're going to do." She pulled out a legal pad and started writing with the confidence of someone who's choreographed this dance 100 times. "We file for divorce citing adultery with evidence. We request full ownership of marital property based on her breach of trust and use of marital home for extramarital affairs. We freeze joint assets immediately. We file a police report for criminal trespass against Marcus Lee because he was in your home, with your wife's permission, yes, but without yours as a property owner. Can we actually do that?" I asked, slightly awed by the scorched earth approach. "We can try. Worst case, they decline to prosecute, but it's on record. Best case, it adds pressure and makes your wife's legal position significantly worse." She looked up at me with eyes that had probably reduced opposing counsel to tears. "Mr. Pierce, your wife made catastrophically bad decisions. My job is to make sure those decisions cost her, not you. Are you comfortable with that?" I thought about Sophie in my sweatshirt, in my house, in my bed. Well, the guest bed, but still, and felt something cold and resolute settle in my chest. "Yeah," I said, "I'm comfortable with that." By day 3 post-explosion, the social fallout is spreading through Sophie's life like a virus through an elementary school. Her photography business, which was already more passion project than viable income source, starts hemorrhaging clients faster than a leaky faucet. I know this because Julie, who apparently has sources everywhere, possibly the CIA, reports that Sophie had 3 bookings cancel in 2 days. One wedding couple straight up hired someone else after hearing, through the grapevine, about Sophie's character issues, which is suburban speak for, "We heard she's a cheater and don't want that energy near our special day." Part of me feels bad about this. A very small part, roughly the size of a grain of rice, that remembers loving this woman and wanting her dreams to succeed. The other 99% of me thinks karma tastes delicious and would like a second serving. Sophie's parents, Robert and Patricia, have apparently gone full ice age on her. Julie somehow knows this too. I suspect she's tapped their phones or possibly has a crystal ball, and reports that Patricia isn't returning Sophie's calls and Robert told her she made her bed and now she has to lie in it, which is both literally and figuratively accurate given the circumstances. There's something deeply satisfying about watching the people who've always treated me like their daughter's consolation prize suddenly realize that maybe I wasn't the problem in this equation. Sophie tries to contact me approximately 37 times over the course of a week. Calls, texts, emails, even a handwritten letter that arrives in my mailbox like we're living in a Victorian novel about regret. The texts escalate from apologetic, "Aaron, please, we need to talk," to desperate, "I made a mistake, I love you, please," to angry, "You're being unreasonable, relationships take work," to what I can only describe as bargaining, "I'll do anything, therapy, whatever you want." I screenshot every message, because Monica told me to document everything, and then I block her number with the kind of satisfaction that probably requires therapy to unpack. My phone storage, for the record, now shows 0 unread texts from traders, which is a statistic I'm weirdly proud of. The court proceedings happened faster than I expected, probably because Monica operates with the efficiency of someone who bills $400 an hour and doesn't waste anyone's time. We're in front of Judge Margaret Hartwell 3 weeks after D-Day. That's what I'm calling it now, D for divorce and devastation, and also douchebag personal trainer. And the courtroom is exactly like it is on TV, except smaller and with worse lighting. Judge Hartwell is maybe 60, with silver hair pulled back tight and glasses that sit on her nose like they're judging you even when she's not. She smells like law books, disappointment, and what I imagine is the permanent scent of other people's bad decisions. Sophie's lawyer, some guy named Davidson who looks like he graduated law school last week and is already regretting his career choices, sits across from us looking progressively more uncomfortable as Monica presents our evidence package. Monica's opening statement is a work of art. She's calm, professional, and absolutely devastating, laying out the facts like she's narrating a crime documentary. Your Honor, the evidence will show that Mrs. Pierce engaged in an extramarital affair, provided her paramour with access to marital property without her husband's knowledge or consent, and used marital assets to facilitate this relationship. Mr. Pierce came home early from work to find his wife in flagrante delicto with another man in their home. This was witnessed and documented by a credible third party, a retired police officer. The evidence is comprehensive, time-stamped, and irrefutable. She clicks through the presentation she's prepared, screenshots, video stills, Tom's witness statement, even photos of Marcus's car with the cracked windshield, which Sophie's lawyer tries to use against me until Monica smoothly pivots and points out that property damage committed in emotional distress after discovering adultery is hardly equivalent to the betrayal that caused it. Judge Hartwell watches everything with the expression of someone who's seen this show 1,000 times and is tired of the reruns. When Sophie tries to speak, attempting some tearful explanation about how she fell out of love and didn't mean to hurt anyone, the judge cuts her off with a hand gesture that would make a traffic cop jealous. Mrs. Pierce, Judge Hartwell says, and her voice has the temperature of a Minnesota winter. I've reviewed the evidence. I've read the depositions. I've seen the documentation. You engaged in an extramarital affair. You violated the sanctity of your marital home, and you provided a third party with access to property that was jointly owned. The fact that you didn't mean to hurt anyone is immaterial. Intent is not a defense for consequences. Sophie's crying now, full breakdown mode, and her lawyer is shuffling papers like maybe if he looks busy enough, everyone will forget he's losing catastrophically. Monica sits next to me with the serene expression of someone who already knows how this ends. I'm ruling in favor of Mr. Pierce, Judge Hartwell announces, and those 6 words feel like vindication and victory and the ending of a chapter one never wanted to write. Full dissolution of marriage, marital property to be retained by Mr. Pierce given Mrs. Pierce's violations. No alimony. Mrs. Pierce will be responsible for her own legal fees. Davidson tries to object, something about fairness and Sophie's contributions to the household, but Judge Hartwell shuts him down with a look that could freeze lava. Counselor, your client made choices. Those choices have consequences. We're done here. And just like that, it's over. 5 years of marriage dissolved in less time than it takes to watch a movie. Monica files additional criminal reports against Marcus for trespass and unlawful possession of a key, because if you're going to burn bridges, you might as well make sure they're completely ash. Sophie tries to approach me outside the courthouse, her face a mess of tears and mascara, looking like a before photo in a cautionary tale about infidelity. Aaron, please. I walk past her like she's a stranger asking for directions I don't have. Monica's heels click next to mine on the courthouse steps, and she hands me a folder containing the official dissolution papers. Congratulations, she says dryly. You're now officially divorced and significantly better off. I look at the folder, then back at the courthouse where Sophie's standing with her useless lawyer, and I feel something strange, not happiness exactly, but the absence of pain. Like a tooth that's been aching for months finally got pulled. Thanks, I say, and I mean it. My bill will arrive next week, Monica replies with a slight smile. But you're welcome. The thing about winning is that nobody tells you it doesn't feel like winning. They don't mention that victory tastes like lukewarm coffee that's been sitting too long, or that getting everything you wanted in a divorce settlement feels less like triumph and more like standing in the ruins of something you used to call home. But here I am, standing on the courthouse steps with legal documents that declare me the winner of a game I never wanted to play, and all I feel is tired. The word nothing appears 17 times in the dissolution paperwork Monica hands me. Sophie gets nothing from the house, nothing from the joint savings account, nothing in terms of alimony or spousal support, nothing except her personal belongings and the consequences of her own choices. I read that word over and over. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And it sounds almost musical, like a bell ringing in the distance, or maybe like the closing credits song of a movie I never auditioned for, but somehow starred in anyway. There's something delicious about it, in a dark, petty way that makes me question my own character. But I'm only human, and humans who get cheated on are entitled to a little bit of schadenfreude with their legal victories. Monica's already headed to her car, probably off to destroy someone else's life in a completely professional and billable manner. When Sophie appears at the bottom of the courthouse steps like a ghost from a past I'm actively trying to forget. She's flanked by her useless lawyer Davidson, who looks like he's calculating how quickly he can distance himself from this disaster. And her face is doing that thing where desperation and regret have a baby and name it last-ditch effort. Erin, wait. Please. Just 5 minutes. I stop walking, not because I want to hear what she has to say, but because ignoring her completely feels like the kind of move that might look bad if anyone's watching. Tom taught me that. Always consider the optics, even when your emotions are screaming at you to just keep moving. I turn around slowly, keeping my expression neutral, the legal folder tucked under my arm like a shield made of paperwork and vindication. Sophie looks terrible, which I hate that I notice and hate even more that part of me feels satisfied by it. Her hair's a mess, her makeup's running in those tragic streaks that make people look like they're auditioning for a sad music video, and she's wearing an outfit I recognize, the blue dress she wore to our anniversary dinner 2 years ago, back when we still celebrated those things. The choice feels calculated, like she's trying to remind me of better times, and it pisses me off that she thinks I'm that easy to manipulate. What do you want, Sophie? My voice comes out flat, emotionless, like I'm reading from a script I've already memorized. I want to explain. Explain what? I was there. I saw everything. Hell, I've got video evidence that a judge just reviewed for 2 hours. What's left to explain? She takes a step closer, and I take a step back, maintaining the distance like we're in some kind of sad dance where the choreography is just about avoiding each other. Her lawyer Davidson hovers nearby, looking uncomfortable, probably wondering if his malpractice insurance covers being present for post-trial begging sessions. I made a mistake, Sophie says, and her voice is shaking in that way that used to make me want to comfort her, back when I thought protecting her feelings was my job. A huge mistake. I was confused, I felt neglected because of your schedule, and Marcus was just there. But I love you, Erin. I still love you. We can fix this. Fix this. I laugh, and it comes out bitter enough to curdle milk. Sophie, you didn't break a vase. You didn't forget to pay a bill. You had an affair, gave another man a key to our house, and sent him naked pictures with captions about missing him inside you. That's not something you fix. That's something you file under catastrophically bad decisions that end marriages. People work through worse. People work through worse when both parties want to work through it. I don't. I'm done. I hold up the legal folder like evidence in a trial that's already over. The judge is done. Your parents are done. The only person who's not done is you. And honestly, Sophie, that's a you problem, not a me problem. She's full-on crying now, those big heaving sobs that make people's shoulders shake and their breathing go irregular. Davidson puts a hand on her shoulder in what I assume is either comfort or a gentle suggestion that they should leave before this gets more pathetic. A few people are watching us from the courthouse entrance. Other lawyers, maybe some court staff. And I'm suddenly very aware that we're providing free entertainment for strangers who will go home tonight and tell their families about the messy divorce they witnessed. I'm sorry, Sophie chokes out, like those 2 words are a magic spell that can reverse time and poor choices. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything. There's nothing to do. It's over. It was over the second you decided Marcus was worth more than our marriage. I pause, letting that sink in, then add what feels like the final nail in a coffin I didn't build but am definitely closing. And honestly, I hope you and Marcus are very happy together. Or not. I genuinely don't care anymore. That lands harder than anything else I've said. I can see it in her face. The realization that I'm not angry anymore, not hurt in that fresh, raw way that suggests feelings are still involved. I'm just done. Finished. Moved on to the "you're now a person who exists in my past and nowhere else" phase of post-relationship processing. Sophie tries one more time. Reaching out like physical contact might somehow change the objective reality of signed legal documents. Aaron. Goodbye, Sophie. I turn and walk away, and this time I don't look back. My feet carry me across the parking lot to my car. The same car I drove to work the night everything exploded. The same car that still has the aluminum bat in the trunk like a souvenir from a life that ended 3 weeks ago. I unlock it, slide into the driver's seat, and sit there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel and trying to identify what I'm feeling. Victorious? Not really. Relieved? Sort of. Sad? Definitely. There's this weird cocktail of emotions happening that I don't have names for. Satisfaction mixed with grief, vindication cut with emptiness, freedom tinged with the bitter aftertaste of what freedom cost. I'm the protagonist in my own revenge story. Except revenge stories in movies always end with the hero feeling justified and powerful, riding off into the sunset with their dignity intact. Nobody mentions that real revenge feels more like standing in an empty parking lot wondering if winning was worth the price of admission. I pull out my phone and see a text from Tom. How'd it go? Won everything. Feels weird. I type back. His response comes immediately. That's normal. Come by tonight. Julie's making pot roast. The simplicity of that invitation, pot roast and company, and people who give a damn whether I'm okay, makes something in my chest loosen. I start the car, Monica's bill probably already drafting itself in her office computer system, and I drive home thinking about how revenge is supposed to taste sweet, but mostly just tastes like burnt coffee. Bitter, harsh, and leaving an aftertaste you can't quite get rid of no matter how much water you drink. I pass Sophie's photography studio on the way home, the one she rented last year with my financial backing, and noticed the "for lease" sign in the window. Her business lasted exactly as long as her commitment to our marriage, not very. There should be satisfaction in that observation, some kind of poetic justice about consequences catching up with bad decisions. But instead, I just feel tired. Tired of being angry, tired of documenting everything, tired of living in the aftermath of someone else's choices. When I pull into my driveway, my house, my life that's finally, legally, completely mine. Tom's already on his porch with a beer, waiting like he's been on watch. He raises the bottle in a silent salute, and I raise my legal folder in response. We're communicating in the universal language of men who survive things and don't need to discuss it in detail. I walk inside, drop the legal documents on the kitchen counter, and look around at the house that's now officially, completely, legally mine. The guest room door is closed. I haven't been in there since that night. Might just turn it into storage or an office, or maybe I'll just nail it shut like a tomb for dead relationships. The living room still has our wedding photo on the wall, and I make a mental note to take that down because keeping it up feels less like nostalgia and more like self-flagellation. My phone buzzes. Another text from Tom, 30 minutes. Bring the evidence folder. Julie wants to see it. Of course she does. Julie probably wants to frame it. Or maybe make a scrapbook titled, How Sophie Grant Pierce Destroyed Her Life in One Easy Step. I should probably find that inappropriate. But honestly, having people on my team who are more offended by what happened than I currently have the energy to be feels like a weird kind of gift. I grab the folder, lock my door, new locks, installed 2 days after D-Day, keys that Sophie never touched, and head to Tom and Julie's house. The evening air is cool, autumn settling in with that crisp edge that makes everything feel like transitions and endings. Somewhere in the neighborhood, someone's grilling. Someone else has their TV on too loud. Life continues, oblivious and ordinary, while I walk through it carrying proof that mine completely fell apart and got legally reassembled. Victory, I decide, is overrated. But survival? Survival with pot roast and nosy neighbors who weaponize their phone cameras on my behalf. That's something I can work with. Here's what nobody tells you about getting divorced. The hardest part isn't the betrayal or the legal proceedings, or even the moment when you realize your marriage was basically performance art, where only one person knew they were acting. The hardest part is figuring out what the hell to do with yourself afterward. I've got a house that's too big for one person, a work schedule that made sense when I was avoiding my wife, but now just feels lonely, and approximately zero idea how to be a single 30-year-old man who hasn't been on a date since Obama's first term. So naturally, I do what any reasonable person does when their life implodes. I lean heavily on my retired cop neighbor and his wife who stress bakes like she's training for the Olympics. Tom and Julie Briggs become my chosen family, which sounds like something from a self-help book, but is actually just what happens when two people witness your life falling apart and decide they're personally invested in making sure you don't become one of those guys who lives alone, talks to his plants, and eventually gets featured in a documentary about suburban isolation. Tom appoints himself my life coach, therapist, and apparently my grill instructor, because one Saturday afternoon he shows up at my door with a toolbox, 2 steaks, and the kind of determination that suggests he's about to teach me something whether I want to learn it or not. You can't be a divorced man in America without knowing how to grill, Tom announces, marching into my backyard like he owns it. It's basically in the Constitution. Right after freedom of speech and the right to bear arms comes the right to charm meat over open flame. I know how to grill. I protest, even though my grilling experience is limited to frozen burgers that I usually burn on one side and undercook on the other. Tom looks at my propane grill, a wedding gift from Sophie's uncle that I've used maybe 6 times, and shakes his head like a mechanic assessing a car that's been neglected for years. You know how to operate a grill. There's a difference. I'm teaching you how to grill properly, which involves technique, timing, and not setting off your smoke alarm every time you want dinner. The lesson goes about as well as you'd expect. Tom's trying to explain something about heat zones and searing versus cooking through, while I'm just trying not to set my deck on fire. The steaks turn out somewhere between leather boot and hockey puck, and at one point the smoke gets so bad that my alarm goes off, which brings Julie over from next door with a concerned expression and a vegetable casserole that she claims is emergency backup food for when men try to be self-sufficient. This is humiliating, I mutter, standing in my kitchen while Julie disables my smoke alarm and Tom scrapes carbon off what used to be a perfectly good ribeye. This is progress, Tom corrects. Last month you were documenting your wife's affair. This month you're burning meat products. Next month, you'll actually be living again. Baby steps, Aaron. Julie parks herself at my kitchen table and starts doing what I've come to recognize as her specialty, aggressive caring masked as criticism. She surveys my refrigerator, which contains beer, leftover pizza, condiments, and a suspicious container of something that might have been pasta salad in a previous life. Her expression suggests she's personally offended by my nutritional choices. Aaron Pierce, you're eating like a college freshman who just discovered DoorDash. Where are the vegetables? The fruit? Any evidence that you understand basic human biology? I had a salad last week. I offer weekly. Pizza doesn't count as salad just because there's a tomato-based sauce involved. She's already making a list on her phone, the way she does when she's decided someone's life needs managing. Tomorrow, you and I are going grocery shopping. Real food. Things that grow from the ground and don't come in plastic wrappers. I'm 30 years old. Then act like it. Right now you're eating with the nutritional sophistication of a teenager whose parents are out of town. She softens slightly, reaching across the table to pat my hand. I know you're going through it, honey, but you can't grieve and eat garbage simultaneously. Your body deserves better, even if your heart's still in triage. The comment about my heart being in triage hits harder than it should, probably because it's accurate. Tom's still in the backyard, hosing down the grill like he's cleaning a crime scene, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table realizing that these two people, who owe me absolutely nothing, have somehow become the scaffolding holding up my life while I figure out how to rebuild it. That night, lying in bed in a house that's too quiet, I make a decision that feels both terrifying and necessary. I'm going to therapy. Not because I think I'm broken, though jury's still out on that, but because I'm tired of not knowing how to process what happened. I'm tired of oscillating between rage and numbness, tired of seeing Sophie's face every time I close my eyes, tired of feeling like I'm swimming through life instead of actually living it. Dr. Claire Benson comes recommended by Monica Reyes, my lawyer, who apparently keeps a list of therapists who specialize in helping people survive their own divorce proceedings. Dr. Benson's office is in one of those professional buildings that tries too hard to look calming. Lots of beige, some motivational posters about growth and healing, and a waiting room that smells like lavender and other people's problems. She's maybe 50, with kind eyes and the sort of face that suggests she's heard every variation of human disaster and still believes people are capable of healing. "Tell me why you're here," she says during our first session, after the preliminary small talk about insurance and confidentiality. "My wife cheated on me. I divorced her. I won. And I feel terrible about winning," which seems counterintuitive. Dr. Benson nods like this makes perfect sense. "You're not mourning your marriage, Aaron. You're mourning the version of your marriage you thought you had. You're mourning the version of Sophie you loved. The one who existed before you discovered she wasn't who you thought she was." That sentence rewires something in my brain. It's so simple, so obvious in retrospect, but hearing it out loud feels like someone just handed me a map to navigate terrain I've been stumbling through blind. I'm not sad about losing Sophie, the real Sophie, the one who gave a personal trainer a key to our house. I'm sad about losing the Sophie I invented, the one I believed existed, the one who loved me back with the same commitment I gave her. So what do I do with that? I ask. You grieve it. You acknowledge it. And then, slowly, you let it go. She smiles gently. Grief isn't linear, Aaron. Some days you'll feel fine. Some days you'll feel like you're back at square one. That's normal. The goal isn't to stop feeling sad. The goal is to not let sadness be the only thing you feel. I start seeing Dr. Benson every Tuesday at 6 p.m., which becomes my routine the way work and Tom's grill lessons and Julie's grocery store interventions become routine. I learned to laugh again at self-deprecating jokes, like telling Dr. Benson that my dating life is now officially a past-due item in the romance ledger, which makes her actually laugh out loud in a very untherapist-like way that I appreciate. She suggests I join a support group for divorced men, which sounds about as appealing as a colonoscopy, but I go anyway because I'm trying to be the kind of person who does healthy things even when they're uncomfortable. The group meets at a community center on Thursday nights, and it's exactly what you'd imagine. A circle of chairs, sad fluorescent lighting, and a collection of men in various stages of post-divorce processing. There's Greg, whose wife left him for her yoga instructor. There's Kevin, whose ex-wife took the dog and somehow got custody of their friend group. And then there's two old guys, Frank and Dennis, who spend every meeting arguing about whether revenge tastes better with barbecue sauce or hot sauce, which is both absurd and strangely comforting. Barbecue sauce is for cowards, Dennis argues during my second meeting. You want revenge, you go with habanero. Make it hurt. You're an idiot, Frank counters. Barbecue sauce is about patience. Slow-cooked revenge, like proper brisket. It's an art form. I sit there eating tacos from a food truck that parks outside the community center, listening to these men debate condiment-based revenge strategies, and I realize this is healing. Not in the dramatic, movie montage way where sad music plays and you come out the other side transformed, but in the small, unglamorous way where you show up to a support group, eat tacos instead of wallowing in your feelings, and laugh at old men who've turned their pain into comedy routines about barbecue. Progress, I learn, looks nothing like I expected. It's not big dramatic moments or sudden revelations. It's small things done repeatedly. Going to the gym even when you don't want to, grocery shopping for actual vegetables because Julie will judge you if you don't, going to bed at a reasonable hour without checking your phone for texts from someone who doesn't have your number anymore. It's learning to grill without burning down your deck. It's sitting in a therapist's office and admitting you're not okay, but you're trying to be. It's eating tacos with strangers who understand what it means to have your life split in half and be handed the pieces with a legal stamp that says, "Good luck rebuilding." 3 months after the divorce is finalized, I wake up one morning and realize I didn't dream about Sophie. I didn't check my phone expecting messages that will never come. I just woke up, made coffee, thought about what I wanted for breakfast, and that small, ordinary moment feels like the biggest victory I've had since Judge Hartwell said the word nothing 17 times and meant it. 6 months after my divorce becomes official, I find myself standing in the pasta sauce aisle of a Kroger on a Saturday afternoon, having what I can only describe as an existential crisis over marinara. There are approximately 47 varieties in front of me: organic, traditional, roasted garlic, tomato basil, some fancy import that costs more than my hourly wage. And I'm paralyzed by the choices in a way that suggests my decision-making abilities were casualties of my marriage explosion. I'm standing there like an idiot, holding 2 jars and trying to remember if I even like mushrooms. when a voice behind me says, "Is this one any good?" I turn around, and there's a woman holding up a jar of arrabbiata sauce like it's evidence in a trial about Italian food authenticity. She's maybe my age, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, glasses that sit slightly crooked on her nose in a way that suggests she doesn't care about perfect symmetry, and a face that looks like it's never been involved in neighborhood drama or extramarital affairs. She's wearing jeans, a hoodie that says, "I void warranties" in faded letters, and the kind of sneakers that prioritize comfort over fashion, which immediately tells me she's practical and probably doesn't spend 2 hours getting ready for grocery shopping. I say eloquently, looking at the sauce she's holding and then at the 2 jars in my own hands like they might provide conversation guidance. I have no idea. I'm currently having a breakdown over pasta sauce, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. She laughs, and it's the kind of laugh that sounds like permission to breathe, genuine, unself-conscious, the auditory equivalent of someone opening a window in a stuffy room. Join the club. I've been staring at these for 5 minutes trying to remember if arrabbiata is the spicy one or if I'm thinking of something else entirely. It's the spicy one. I confirm, grateful that at least one piece of culinary knowledge survived my life falling apart. Arrabbiata means angry in Italian. It's got red pepper flakes. Angry sauce. Perfect. That's exactly the energy I need for my dinner tonight. She puts it in her cart, then looks at my 2 jars with the critical eye of someone who's about to render judgment. What's your dilemma? Traditional versus roasted garlic. I'm cooking for one, so if I choose wrong, I'm stuck with it for multiple meals. The pressure is real. Get both, she says simply. Life's too short for pasta sauce regret. This woman just solved my crisis with 2 words and common sense, which makes her either a genius or someone who hasn't yet learned that every decision post-divorce feels weighted with unnecessary significance. I grab both jars and drop them in my cart, feeling like I just accomplished something monumental. "I'm Maya," she offers, extending a hand like we're at a business meeting instead of in the Italian food section. "Software developer, grocery store philosopher, and apparently your pasta sauce consultant." "Erin," I reply, shaking her hand and noticing she's got a firm grip and calluses that suggest she does something with her hands besides type. "Warehouse logistics, recent divorce, and guy who just had a breakdown over tomatoes." The word divorce slips out before I can stop it, and I immediately regret it because who leads with their relationship failure status in a grocery store? But Maya doesn't flinch, doesn't do that sympathetic head tilt that people do when you mention divorce, doesn't ask invasive questions or make assumptions. "Been there," she says casually, moving toward the pasta section like this conversation is continuing whether I follow or not. 2 years ago. Husband decided he preferred his coworker. I preferred keeping my self-respect, so we went our separate ways. "You doing okay?" I follow her because apparently we're shopping together now, and honestly, this is the most normal social interaction I've had with a woman who isn't Julie Briggs in months. Some days are better than others. Today I'm spiraling over marinara, so make of that what you will. Marinara spiraling is valid. Last week I had a full meltdown over trash bags. Couldn't decide between scented and unscented. Ended up sitting in my car for 10 minutes questioning all my life choices. She grabs a box of penne, examines it like she's reading a contract, then tosses it in her cart. Grocery stores are surprisingly emotional after divorce. Too many decisions, too much silence, constant reminders that you're shopping for one. The fact that she gets it, really gets it, without me having to explain, makes something in my chest loosen. We end up wandering through Kroger together for the next 30 minutes, talking about food like it's philosophy, which somehow transitions into talking about movies, which leads to swapping stories about our terrible post-divorce dating attempts. Maya went on a date with a guy who brought his mother. I went on exactly 0 dates because the thought of explaining my recent history to strangers made me want to fake my own death and move to Montana. "You're dodging the whole thing?" Maya asks, somewhere between the frozen foods and the bakery section, looking at me with genuine curiosity instead of judgment. "I'm strategically avoiding human connection until I can trust my own judgment again." I correct. "There's a difference." Sounds lonely. It's very lonely. But it's also safer than trusting someone who might turn out to be a personal trainer sleeping narcissist. Maya stops walking, turns to face me fully, and says something that rewires my entire afternoon. Not everyone's your ex-wife, Aaron. Some of us are just regular disasters trying to buy groceries and maybe make friends with strangers in the sauce aisle. We end up at the checkout together, and while I'm loading my cart onto the conveyor belt, pasta sauce, frozen vegetables that Julie would approve of, and impulse-purchased cookies that I definitely don't need. Maya writes her phone number on my receipt with a pen she borrows from the cashier. "That's my number," she says, handing back the receipt like it's an IOU for future conversation. "Text me if you want to continue this discussion about pasta or movies or whatever. Or don't. No pressure. But for what it's worth, you seem like a decent human going through a rough time, and I'm a decent human who's been through rough times, so maybe we could be decent humans together occasionally." I take the receipt, stare at the numbers scrawled across the bottom, and feel something I haven't felt in months, something light and ridiculous and terrifying. Hope. I text her that night. "This is Aaron from the Marinara Crisis. Made the traditional sauce. Regret nothing." Her response comes 3 minutes later. "Excellent choice. I went with angry sauce. Currently eating my feelings in spicy tomato form. October 10th would recommend." And just like that, we start dating, except it doesn't feel like dating in the formal, terrifying sense. It feels like accidentally making a friend who might become something more if neither of us screw it up. Our first official date is at her apartment where we attempt to make lasagna from scratch and burn it so badly that her smoke alarm goes off, and we end up ordering pizza instead, laughing on her kitchen floor like teenagers who just pulled off the world's worst cooking prank. "This is the worst date I've ever been on," Maya announces, eating pizza straight from the box. "This is the only date I've been on in 7 years, I counter. So technically it's also the best." She tells me about her ex-husband. Not in a bitter way, but in the matter-of-fact tone of someone who's processed their trauma and come out the other side with perspective. I tell her about Sophie, about the guest room, about Marcus and the baseball bat, and how I won everything in the divorce, but still felt like I lost something important. Maya listens without judgment, without trying to fix anything, without comparing my pain to hers or making it a competition of who got hurt worse. When I say Sophie's name, Maya doesn't flinch. She doesn't ask for details I'm not ready to give. She just nods and says, "That sounds really hard. I'm sorry you went through that." On our 4th date, a movie that we both hate but suffer through together, bonding over how bad the plot is, Maya asks me a question that nobody else has thought to ask. "What do you want, Aaron? Not what you think you should want, not what makes sense logically. What do you actually want?" The question is so simple and so devastatingly effective that I don't have an immediate answer. I've spent months figuring out what I don't want: betrayal, lies, relationships that explode in guest rooms. But what do I want? The question sits between us in the dark movie theater, and I realize nobody's asked me that since before my marriage ended. "I want someone who shows up," I finally say. "Someone who texts back. Someone who doesn't ghost when life gets complicated or spicy. I want normal. Boring, even. I want to trust small things again." "I can do small things," Maya replies, and I hear the smile in her voice. "I'm excellent at small things. Showing up? I'm basically professionally punctual. Texting back? I've been told my response time is aggressive. Not ghosting. That's just basic human decency, but I'm committed to the cause." We grow like a sitcom couple without the canned laughter, slowly, awkwardly, with genuine affection that builds brick by brick instead of hitting us like lightning. Maya meets Tom and Julie, who interrogate her like she's applying for a security clearance. She passes their test by bringing Julie homemade cookies and engaging Tom in a 40-minute conversation about cybersecurity that I don't understand, but he clearly loves. She fits into my life like a favorite mug, useful, warm, and occasionally chipped in ways that make her more endearing rather than less. 6 months into whatever we're calling this relationship, Maya's sitting at my kitchen table helping me assemble IKEA furniture for my new home office, and I realize I'm happy. Not the desperate, performative happiness of someone trying to prove they're over their ex. Just content. Present. Grateful for someone who chose me with full knowledge of my damage and decided I was worth the investment anyway. "You know what's weird?" I say, wrestling with an Allen wrench and instructions that might as well be in ancient Greek. "Everything about IKEA furniture?" Maya suggests, holding a piece that could be a shelf or possibly modern art. "That too. But also, I'm happy. Like, genuinely happy. I didn't think I'd get here." Maya looks at me with those slightly crooked glasses and that face that's become my favorite face, and she smiles. You earned it, Aaron. You did the work. You showed up for yourself. Now you get to enjoy the payoff. And sitting there, surrounded by Swedish furniture parts and a woman who writes her number on grocery receipts, I think maybe she's right. A year later, the guest room is a home office where I do coursework toward a logistics degree. I replaced the fence, planted maple trees that won't concern themselves with human drama. Maya fits into my kitchen like she belongs there. Useful, warm, occasionally leaving her coffee mugs everywhere, which drives me crazy in the best way. I don't forgive Sophie. Don't need to. Forgiveness is optional. Freedom is mandatory. She texted 6 months ago from a new number, some rambling apology about growth and mistakes. I deleted it, blocked her again, threw away the emotional wrapper like bad candy. Standing in my backyard, bat propped in the shed as a souvenir and a lesson, Tom waves from his porch. Julie brings lemon bars. Dr. Benson emails articles I pretend to read. Monica's final bill is paid and forgotten. Life tastes better now. Honest, unvarnished, occasionally hilarious. Maya's teaching me to cook without setting off alarms. Tom's still convinced I need grilling lessons. Julie still judges my vegetable intake. I learned betrayal shows you who people are, and recovery is long, ridiculous, and ends with you owning your life again. I close this chapter with tacos, terrible jokes, and the satisfied knowledge that some endings deserve good food and better company.